So TRVL has actually quite nicely almost filled the previous month candle. You see that? Almost. So we've kind of front run it a little bit, front run the monthly level. We have a little bit of a front run. The weekly time frame volume is healthy. We have increasing prices and increasing volume, so that is good. I'm gonna have to refresh this because my chart is bugged out. Okay. On the daily time frame, on the last 3 green candles, we had actually increasing prices, decreasing volume. You see that? So why on the weekly time frame we're bullish, on the daily time frame we've been slightly bearish for a few days. Okay, but the volume hasn't been crazy decreasing, so it's kind of similar. It's not overly bearish, it's just slightly bearish there. On the 3-day time frame, it was only the last 3 days that we saw a little bit of bearishness. The previous 4 3-day candles were really bullish, taking us to that. So possibly we're looking for a pullback to there, possibly just to fix this bearish divergence that's formed here. I'll leave that line, bringing us back to a back test of this monthly level. I'd like to see if that plays out. So let's bring the our levels back in. Okay, I didn't mark this one out for 4. For me, that monthly level looks like it could have been a front run, a little front run, which is good because that front run means it's been hit. And this could be a washed level that could still act as support, even though it's washed. It's kind of at the right place because when you look at the volume on these 3-day candles, you see where this one ends, that's kind of just above the monthly level. Maybe we're coming for a back test. The next candle was a decreasing volume candle, and now we're possibly getting a back test on that monthly, the back test to that monthly level. That makes sense. Let me see if I can get some kind of confirmation of what's about to happen. I'm going to just kind of look at the chart. Because it's a low liquid token, it could overshoot, but I'm just kind of contemplating this. I'm also going to have a look at the volume. I'm going to update the volume on the higher time frame, on the higher time frame, right from the beginning to today, just to make sure there's no significant changes, and then I always update them a little bit, make sure everything is correct, which it's fine. That's good. I'm going to add this line here, which I didn't add before. It's a high volume node. I'm just going to add it just simply because it is relevant, especially if we flip it into some kind of support level. Just make sure it's correct. There, slightly above the monthly level there. And then obviously we have our fibs, we have our higher time frame fibs, and our lower time frame fibs. That one, that's the one, that's the lower time frame, that's the higher time. So the higher time frame, we can just ignore it. Slightly lower time frame, we can bring it back in. It's trickier because we clearly missed this key area of resistance. Clearly, we've clearly missed it. And I wonder if we do hit it. We have to hit it, really. And we've come above this 50% mark. We're trying to find support. Failed. That's a failed. We're failing to find support there. So we're probably heading slightly lower. Maybe aiming for this area here. If we do hit that area, I don't know. It'd be an 8% drop. I don't really want us to drop like that because it gets scary for people. They start selling, market selling when it drops. It's better to be like gentle It'd be better to kind of gently go down, you know, like, and then we have a good chance to expand like that. The minute you start getting crazy, like drop, then it scares people. So ideally we don't want that. And that basically just, people just have to stop selling. That's all it really is. And just keep on accumulating. And the way to accumulate is with limit orders. I can see that the volume in this drop is quite low. It's not crazy volume, it's pretty low volume. So arguably that is quite bullish or not bearish. We have to see how that plays out. So we kind of missed our target in the first push up. I'm assuming that this impulsive move is over. That's how you can determine the impulsive move is over, because you get these kind of corrective moves. And I'm assuming that's the end of a 3, to be honest with you. So it helps us, because if you now I can kind of try and work out the Elliott waves. And I'm going to do that right now. Did I have it before? I had that one before, maybe that one. Okay, so again, Elliott waves are very subjective, extremely speculative, and it's always easier to do it after the event, after the fact. Always easier. Yeah, I initially had this idea 1 2 3 4 5. Was that correct? I don't know. I'd like to think that this was the end of a 3. Or a 1. It's such a crazy move, huh? So it's hard to know. Let's go right back to the beginning here. Yeah, I mean, possibly it started here even, like, so 1 2 3 4. Zoom in some more. Kind of have to zoom in. So maybe this is a running flat. I'm wondering if that was that. And maybe that was to there. Like that. Hey, Defage. I'm just looking at this and it's so hard to work out. I'm just crazy struggling, you know, like the price action is so erratic. No, don't like it at all. Unless that was your 5. 1 2. Look at that. Fucking. Oh, dude, I don't know. I just don't understand. Because the thing is, you can get running flats and you can get impulses, and generally speaking, you can see the impulsive moves, but maybe I'm trying too hard. You know, that's the other thing. Sometimes you can try too hard. and you're trying to create something which doesn't exist. Maybe I should just ignore this lower time frame and just focus on the slightly higher time frame. The question is, how many waves are there? Is that a 1? Is that whole thing a 1? Let's just say it is, huh? I'm not going to try and understand how it played out. I'm making an assumption here. Let's just say this is your 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And so you have like your 5 waves here. I'm trying to do it like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's just say that's it. So actually, just based on that kind of bizarre theory, I can actually figure this out. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way up to there. There. Get those lines. Brushes. How do you confirm this? You have to draw fibs. So the 1 to 3, the wave 1 then took us to the 2.618. It's possible. Oh, that was perfect. Look at that. Took us to the 618 there. Look at that. So I might have it. I might have it done it. I might have worked it out. All right. So you can see actually, look. So I've done 2 fib extensions from here to here to here. That took us to a target of the 2.618 here. And then I did another one from here to here to here, and that gave us a 618 target there. And they line up really nicely. That was pretty tricky, huh? Fuck. Now that we started seeing a correction, we can do this. It's always harder when you're in the middle of an impulsive move to see how many waves there are. I'm just assuming that was your first one. That was a flat 2. Then you got your wave 3 for a small 4, and then straight into your 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we came back into the 1 to 4 here, found support, which is lining up perfectly with the 50 fib, and then we're falling back. So I do think we're probably good. We're looking for a healthy target here for a back test, possibly. That would be a 2 correction because this whole thing is a 1. That's what I'm imagining. Now the 3 wave is going to be the biggest wave in this move. In the same way that you have a kind of like a fast one, with the 3 you're going to get similar to this. You're going to get bang, correction, bang. It's more of a it's more defined, the 3 wave. The wave 1 is just up. The wave 5 is usually just up, but the wave 3 is usually up, correction, up, correction, up, correction. It's more of a structured wave setup. Yeah, the 3 wave. So let me just kind of add this to this. I'm going to create, I'm going to rename EW1. We hide that. Where's those fibs? Bless me, I sneezed, but I'd muted, so that was good. Ooh, chills. Let's just get rid of these volume levels and these high loads. Let's get rid of all of these volume levels here. And then we've got that monthly level. Let's just bring that into the correct place and keep our chart a little bit organized. All right, we go back to the Elliott Wave 1. I'm imagining that that's wave 1. Wave 1 is complete. Yeah, it's not a bad wave 1. We got a really nice 60% move, and now we're pulling back. We're down 6% already. Okay, correct. It's clearly a zigzag correction. All right, let's have a look at this local volume as well. There's two things I want to look at on local volume. So we had a little front runner of this value area high, which is a shame. We didn't have enough momentum to push us higher, mainly because we have been quite heavily down momentum in this downtrend, and so naturally the momentum is still against us. There's nothing really to see in this volume actually. Let me see the volume from the pivot low here. That gives us the value area there, so that's quite interesting. And then let's just kind of have a look at the VWAPs here. There's one VWAP there. Let me just have a look at the VWAP from this pivot high. Okay, that's quite interesting. So we're above that VWAP. That's nice. And then let's have a look at the VWAP from here. We're above that one. That's quite nice. So we're above two quite important VWAPs in this kind of whole structure, and underneath where we dropped, you can see that we're above all of these VWAPs, these anchored VWAPs, aren't we? This is the main one. This VWAP we don't lose. We can't lose this one. The minute we lose that, then that would be really bearish. Yeah. So as long as we don't lose that, the price is looking to reverse and start trending up. So that's really important. Bring the Elliott Wave up. So this is really a good question. What happens next? We can do a fib off this low here. And then yeah, so it's quite tricky. It's actually really quite tricky, just because I understand the way TRVL moves is that people are selling and they have to market sell. That pushes the price down, and sometimes that can overly push the price down, over push the price down, and that's not what we want. We want people to not sell, but you can't stop people. Okay, right now you got a 1-to-1 of this corrective move, an ABC type corrective move, and that would be something like this. That would be something like that. It's a straightforward ABC, and then you can kind of represent it with a diamond shape if you want. Do that sometimes. And that doesn't necessarily mean that the correction's over. I think the target for that would be what I'm looking at here. It'll be an SR flip of this pivot, which is also these anchored VWAPs, which slightly lines up with this 1-to-1, 1-to-1, and you got like a 236 area here as well, slightly lower. You kind of don't want to fall into that. It's too low, because if you get a little sell pressure here, you might lose that area, and that's not what we want to see. We want to see the price to come and find support or a good reaction, a strong reaction. There's a 618 here in the way, and so ideally what you want to see is you know, a little reaction and then a reaction, kind of like we want to see these levels react. We don't want to see these levels not react. The more levels that react on the way down, the better it is. to keep the price from collapsing. We don't want to see the price to collapse. So this is kind of where I'm at right now with this. Let me just do a little bit of a, that's the 618. That would give us Wednesday at 1 a.m. So basically tonight, to the end of tonight. So to the end of today's candle is possibly a good buy. A good buy if we kind of land in this area. That would be correct. Let me do it from that top pivot there. Yeah, that's too difficult, but it's kind of lining up correctly. That would be better. I think it could come sooner, but ideally you want it to be kind of at the end of today. And ideally what you want, what we want, if possible, is a nice SR flip off that pivot high there. That's kind of what we want to see, if that can, we can form an SR flip off these VWAPs, off that pivot high, a really nice SR flip. And then what you want to see next is an impulsive move. We want to see an impulse. Yeah, so it's really important, that impulsive move. So let me just kind of rename that to wave 2 corrective. Sit there. So we have our wave 1, we have our wave 2 corrective, and this is just one idea. There could be a few others. I'm just going for the highest probability in this scenario, because you could get a situation, and this is you have to be aware of this. You get an ABC corrective down to there, get a really nice reaction, but not nice enough. So you get an ABC reaction like that. And then you end up, guess what you end up with? Another down move all the way down to a much lower level, this kind of back test at the monthly level. And so you end up with a much longer correction, which also is also valid. Okay. And it would be a WXY type situation. ABC, ABC, ABC. Okay. And then sometimes that last one could extend to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You get the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here, but we have to see how that plays out, just to come lower to the back test of this monthly level. I think really that's as low as we want to go. I don't really want us to go lower than here, which is the 1.618 extension. If we start going lower, that I think that would be quite difficult for the token if we go lower than that. I really do believe that. So we have to be aware of that. Yeah. How much lower is that from where we are now? It's another 7% to the area that I don't think we should lose. But to get to where we could probably just bounce out, it's only 3% lower. So ideally what we really want is, rather than do a WXY, we want a really nice impulsive move from this area here, which is about 3.5% lower. And instead of getting a ABC corrective to come and back test this area for resistance, what you really want to see is a straight up V shape, bam, like that, for wave 1, wave 2, 3, you know, like for the impulse to begin again. Bam, bam, bam. Let's take us to higher prices, and you're continuing this impulsive move, and that was just your correction. Ideally, that's what we want to see. But if we don't see that, we're going further down. The further down we go, the harder it goes to go up. And so ideally what we want, and the longer it takes in this context, the harder it becomes. And so we have to, I'm just making people aware of what could happen based on what I'm seeing right now. Really, at the end of the day, it's about buying and selling. All right. So that's kind of where we're at now. I'm just kind of imagined 2 scenarios. Okay. I'll call that, rename EW corrective VW wave 2 correction. I'll hide those now. So just based on these waves now that we have our first wave intact, which is great because it gives us information that we didn't have before. I can hide those monthly levels now. We can kind of create a little bit of an idea of where the price could. Let's just say we just do a straight ABC here and find support off that 1-to-1, and that's where we bounce off today's close of day. Let's just say hypothetically that's where we bounce. That's best case scenario in this context, and if that happens, then we can easily say that's our wave 1. So that was our first wave. Fine. That becomes a wave. So we've done our wave 2, and then we're looking for a wave 3. And so let me just bring it back. So then we do a trend based fib off the low there to the high there to the area of the end of correction. Let's just say it is the 1-to-1 hypothetically. It's all hypothetical. That gives us a 618 target, which lines us up nicely in that previous range there, and a 1-to-1 target, which takes us to the pivot high there. You see that really nicely pivot high there, and that's the 618. So it is lined up nicely to put in a higher high. This would be the wave 3 of this next move, and so maybe actually what we'll be looking for, if possible, is a nice push up to the 1.618 or the 2. The 2 would take us to the previous all-time low. Really, that's our target for this next wave. I would argue for this next wave, we really want to go up all the way to the all-time low, which is 161% increase in value from this area, okay, from slightly lower. That would be a really obvious place for the price to find resistance because it's a previous support level. So you're kind of looking for an SR flip, but these ratios line up really nicely, and so I would argue that these are really nice ratios if people are looking to trade the next move. Then possibly an entry somewhere around 0.007822 there after you see this ABC correction would be nice, and then a pump all the way for the first take profit at 0.0105 would be nice for another push up to take out that pivot high. That would be a confirmed change of market structure to bullish on the weekly time frame. So we have to do it as soon as possible. If we can get a higher high there, then we could continue pumping probably all the way up to the 1-to-2, which would take us to the previous all-time low. Okay, now do we go up in a straight line? Maybe not. It's possible that we don't go up in a straight line. We could go up wave 1, wave 3, wave 5, which is kind of what I was suggesting, for another ABC corrective to find support here again, which is what I wanted, which was like the right shoulder of an inverse head and shoulders type situation. And then we get our really nice, the wave 3 of 3, because that will be the 1 of 3. This is the 1, this is the 1 of 3, this is the 3 of 3. You get a nice 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like a really nice push up, big wave, like a real breakout wave. Okay, taking us, smashing through this SR flip. I kind of want us to smash through this level, to be honest with you. I really don't want us to go up here and find support for resistance. And I think it's possible, just because of the way it dropped through without finding support this last time. It's very possible, because that's a major SR flip. This is why I'm thinking, because the all-time low was a major SR flip, and the fact that the last time it just went through it without even blinking, yeah, I think it's possible, maybe 50-50, I don't know, maybe even slightly higher, that we just smashed through it. That we, just because we ignored it the first on the way down, we'll ignore it on the way up. Yeah, even though it is a major SR flip, I think things would have been slightly different if we kind of fell there, bounced a little bit, consolidated, lost it, and then dropped. Then you would have had volume to act as confluence for resistance, and then we would have trouble to go through possibly. We don't have that trouble. So actually, if we do create an idea like this where we do take out that high off a little pullback here for the first wave of the next wave, wave 1 of 3, so we've completed the one, this would be the 1 of 3, pull back for a back test of an SR, major SR area, and then if we can smash through all the way up to the area that I'm really thinking was on my mind, which is the 3 cent area, 3.5 cent area, that area. We'd have to kind of hone in a little bit as this plays out. So this is kind of my initial idea right now in the context of us coming down to here, finding support and not falling lower. Again, this is, everything changes if we start falling lower. Yeah, no one can predict that. I can't tell you this is what's going to happen. If we do find support here, then and we start to impulse, then actually it's really nice, because we have a really nice one-to-one target which is going to take out that high, and that's within the realms of possibility. It's within reach. That's kind of what we want to do. We get a really nice 5-wave impulse to take out that high. That will be wave 1 of 3, because we've already had the 1 of 1, and then we can have a corrective. Ideally, the flatter the better. I'm just here contemplating a zigzag to have a nice SR flip here on the major SR flip area, which is the monthly level, which I've marked out before. You see that area, or whatever that area is. No, slightly higher actually, because the monthly level is lower. But I think we possibly front run this their level, this monthly level here. For me, that looks like a little bit of a front run, and then we can expand up. But the flatter the better. Like in these types of corrections, the flatter the better, because the flatter they are, the higher targets we have. Best case scenario for every correction is a running flat. Running flats are the best. Okay, basically they're flats which keep on going in the direction of travel. So possible breakout PA. Just kind of keep that because it's fun. And that would be a running flat, would be like to go up there and to just keep on going up in a corrective manner, but up, and then you impulse higher up. So it is like an inverse head and shoulders, except that you've got a shoulder, you've got the head, and there's no real right shoulder. It's just a kind of flat shoulder before it just smashes through. So people are so bullish, they don't allow it to come back down. No one sells. Basically, people continue buying. You get the kind of these crazy bullish running flats. They're better because you have higher targets, and it's all about the targets. So right now, this is kind of where we're at on TRVL. I think it's looking good for continuation. Yeah, clearly there is an invalidation. You always have to bear in mind the invalidation. You go back to the original chart. Where's the invalidation? It's here where it began. Okay, and this too, I'm just speculating, saying it could be here. Hopefully it's there. But to be honest with you, the 2 could be all the way right back down there. Like no one can predict that. Yeah, no one knows how deep this is going to go. No one can predict that. I don't think it's going to go that deep in the context of the wider market, but no one knows. And actually, it all depends on the volume. We're getting a little bit of selling here. Okay, you can see that, can't you? Getting a little bit of selling. Hopefully anyone selling is going to buy back in. Yeah, or the selling is going to be minimal. It's just going to gently drop to kind of the area that I want it to drop to, which is here. How much further down is that? Maximum 3.5% lower. And you never know, depending on how bullish people are. You have to remember that it's hard to accumulate TRVL in large quantities. These are the opportunities to do that when the price is dropping. You want to buy when the price is dropping, not when the price is going up, because you buy now, you can fill bigger quantity of TRVL without moving the price, slipping the price away from you. Ideally, you want to put limit orders. The more limit orders people place, the more bullish this becomes, because it will just take time to play out now. That's all we need. We need time. after we had this move, we need time. Everyone who sells, sells. And then people who are buying are accumulating. They're accumulating. It's like a reaccumulation. So that's kind of the TRVL analysis. Let me just go back to the targets again, because again, I'm interested in the targets. Did I do it before? Possible PA? Yeah, I did it. Yeah, I did it already. I haven't got a 5 there. Let me just have a look at the 5 as well. Yeah, it looks, it's almost perfect, huh? These fibs. So I would argue that we are in a corrective, and we're now waiting for the correction to be over. Go to 6, 7. I'm just chucking in whole numbers now. Any questions? Definitely. We really need to see this price action, guys. This is it. If we can get this, oh my god, we're back in the range. I think it's so bullish to go back in the range. It'd be so bullish to get back above 2 cents, get back in this range, untrap a bunch of liquidity, hit the golden pocket. So I think we have to hit the golden pocket, yeah, and give people an opportunity there, yeah, to sell. Actually, really, that's what that is. That's giving people an opportunity who are trapped in this drop to sell. And then this is the question: will people reaccumulate and defend 2 cents? That's what we need for another push. And then if that's your final wave, then we need to consolidate here. We need to put volume in, maybe form some kind of whatever, and then we need to break out, or we just need to keep on pumping. But the problem when you pump is that you can dump, and so it's always better to consolidate and then break out. You know, it's always better to consolidate, but you know, no one can make that happen. And find support there. So that's kind of where we're at. Yeah. Did you see the Dtravel Telegram and X? Let's have a look at it together. So they posted something today. Any ideas? An hour ago. I don't know what that means. If you okay, so this is interesting. If you choose to pay for an entire holiday with crypto, which coin would you choose? And there's 4 choices here. Go and vote. 59 votes. So there is a little bit of activity actually. So that's not too bad. I obviously voted all of them. Why not? Why wouldn't you vote? Why wouldn't you pay in all of them? Like, who cares? Just crypto. And then on Friday they posted this Friday check-in. Here are your questions with answers and what the team's been cooking up. Let's have a look at that. What's the current runway situation or status? And the answer is this: we're well positioned to thrive through the bull market. Our team has been operating on significantly reduced salaries for over a year to ensure this. Perfect. That's amazing. If the team is willing to do that, then they're committed. They're pot committed. They're all in. Yeah. And that indicates a healthy project. Yeah, when the team are willing to cut their salary to make sure the project survives because they believe in it, and then now they're putting their own time in with no recompensation. Yeah, so this is a really good answer. It's a very strong answer. Okay, it doesn't mean we're out of the woods. It doesn't mean the project is viable or sustainable yet, but it does mean the team is committed, or what's left of the team. Okay. What are the monthly nights booked? Well, here the answer is in June. We received 41 confirmed bookings. Well done. That's amazing. 41 in June. That's amazing. Okay, that's quite a lot. We're going to amplify this by improving a guest and host incentives, boosting visibility, expanding to more travel campaigns and short rental property managers. So that's really amazing. Okay, so this is good news. How many new properties were listed this month? 377 new listings brought us to 5,174 active properties in June. Amazing. More onboarding campaigns, improved UX, and partner integrations are on the way to accelerate this. Product and onboarding timeline, full onboarding automation and platform readiness expected by the end of Q3. This means faster host activation and greater reach. We're here because you believed first. Now watch us prove why you should stay. What a great ending to a Q&A. How good, how amazing is that? So you can clearly see that Dtravel is making significant progress. You can clearly see that. If you can't see that, then honestly, you should, I don't know what you're doing. You just stop watching my videos. Something big's cooking for crypto event lovers. Imagine tropical vibes, the ocean breeze, an epic venue, and the biggest names in Web3 all together in one place. I think they're talking about Bali. So Dtravel are going to the crypto event in Bali, and that's a big deal. And we're preparing something for that event. I think that event is next month. So this is quite good. We need to keep on supporting Dtravel and in their pursuit of making us rich. And have a look. Let's have a look at the Telegram group quickly. This is the Dtravel community Telegram. Everyone should join that and participate. Whatever. Lots of sites being activated. Lots of new people joining. Have a look at this. Andy, hello Dtravelers. Giving a little update here. TRVL has increased 30% this week. Team is exploring the opportunity to implement BTC as a payment option. You heard it from me first, which is a huge market opportunity. Yes, of course. It's a huge market. It's like the biggest one out there. Expect some new pricing plans and pro subscription features. More details coming soon. And we're officially importing and syncing check-in, check-out, and amenities for all Airbnb listings with Hospitable Connect API. This means a simple connection flow that allows you to connect your Airbnb property to your Dtravel direct website in under 1 minute. There are some advances on the product side as well, which will open the door to do more staking opportunities, community rewards. The team is working on a system that makes the process smooth and easy. Also, new poll is live. Everyone should go and vote. This is great, huh? There's a lot of things going on. New booking sites. I'm continuously doing my videos. This is actually a really good video. If you guys get an opportunity, go and watch this one. I talk about the fundamentals. I'm trying to talk about the fundamentals more and more in my videos. Yeah, I'm not going to do it every time. I wanted to do it every time, but I don't really need to because I'm posting videos and it's all there really. So Airbnb Shopify hybrid, you can go and have a look at those videos. Decentralized network. I'm kind of going over the fundamentals a lot more. On my YouTube page, the fundamentals are in light green, whereas the technical analysis, it's in darker green. So there is a distinction. So if you are interested to share and you're wondering which watch to share, if it's a dark green one, that's more technical analysis, and the light green ones are more to do with the business aspects of why Dtravel. So I kind of have a distinction there, and we need to get the word out, huh? Whether it's me or whether it's just sharing Dtravel. I've had a couple of really amazing meetings on Friday and yesterday with Dtravel, and going to have another big meeting with Dtravel on Friday, this coming Friday. We're talking about growth in the real world network. I'm discussing plans with them about with the possibility of taking El Salvador by storm in conjunction with them us accepting Bitcoin, and to try and explode Dtravel in El Salvador and kind of ride the wave there and make Dtravel extremely significant and prominent there. And not just El Salvador, but that would be like the beach landing, and there's so much opportunity in Latin America because of the archaic banking system effectively. And then the other things that we're talking about are the tokenomics. And so I've been talking about the tokenomics a lot recently. And, you know, the thing is, I'm contemplating this as a conservative move, even though the move is going to be, could be 300%. I mean, it's quite conservative. Like, everyone in the alt season is talking about 50x or 100x, and here we are talking about maybe we can do a 3x, you know. And actually, I'm not impressed. I'm not impressed with a 3x. Okay. And so naturally, what are the conversations that I'm having with certain people in Dtravel? All-time highs. Really, I'm actually all-time highs on my mind. Yeah, bizarrely. Yeah, I think if we do have a crazy crypto market explosion, this alt season that everyone's been hoping for hasn't really come, and maybe is coming now. Like, finally, when everyone has sold their altcoins, or the altcoins are at all-time lows, or a lot of altcoins have crashed, maybe we're going to get the craziest altcoin bull market ever. And my theory, and you've heard my theories about this WXY higher time frame correction, because I've talked about it in my previous videos. Do I have it here? Did I do it on this one? On this chart? Probably not. I think I did it on the MEXC chart. Let me just have a look to see if I can find it. Where's my MEXC chart? Oh God, a lot of brush strokes there. Let me get rid of them. I've got the trend-based fibs. Oh yeah, there it is, the WXY there. So I've been talking about whether this whole thing was one just big gigantic WX. We never had an impulsive move. Just from the first minute we launched, TRVL has been in a higher time frame corrective maneuver. Yeah, that's what I've been talking about. And it makes sense, because when I look at the chart, it does look correct. The whole thing looks corrective. Doesn't, for me it does anyway. Like, I can't see the crazy impulse, but I do see corrective. I see like a 5-wave down. I see this kind of ABC, which is basically flat, and another kind of down like that, like another ABC. So I am seeing this as a massive WXY. After you get this kind of correction, what do you expect? You expect a massive mega pump. It makes no sense that we should just pump and go full flat there. Is that the pump? For me, that doesn't make any sense, unless that is some kind of wave 1, and then we correct, and then we do it a 3 and 4, 5, and that's how we get out of these lows. Okay, that is possible. But actually, what I'm thinking is, because this correction has been so deep and so long, and now we have a little bit of time. You see this this fib time that I was talking about. I was talking about the fib time in April, and now I was talking about the fib time in the 3rd week of July. Okay, so we're there at fib time. Is this resistance? Are we into resistance now? It's debatable. I think probably we front ran this, maybe because I restarted the streams, maybe. And that's what I'm wondering. I'm wondering that because I restarted the streams, we front run this fib time. So there was an external influencing factor, which is why we pumped a little bit sooner, rather than kind of, maybe it should have kind of gone flat here, and then we should have pumped correctly. Maybe we're about to pump now, kind of on fib time. And then we have this gap. We have this gap all the way through to the end of December. And so in my mind, I'm thinking, is it possible that we have an opportunity to pump, and to pump, type thing, like a crazy pump just on the back of this higher time frame corrective movement, and hit our all-time high target by the end of December, just like that. Okay, let's just have a look at what that would look on the normal chart. Is that even feasible? Let's have a look. It would be like that. Like that. It would be a mega pump. It would just like be pump, pump, pump. After you have this crazy long downward trend, you have this crazy pump like that. I think crazy things do happen in crypto. Yeah. And no one can predict it. And the only thing that I'm thinking to myself is what is going to make us create the environment needed for that kind of crazy price action. And in my mind, the only thing that's going to make that happen is if people have the incentive to buy as much TRVL as possible and never sell. It's like you just have to answer those two questions. Give people a reason to buy as much as possible, right? As much as possible, like literally as much as possible. Like it's on their mind. I need to buy as much as possible and never sell. And the only reason why people would buy something as much as possible and never sell is if there's a mad FOMO rush to buy it. You have to give them the FOMO rush. And why would people rush to buy this token? It's because they believe that it's going to become as valuable as Bitcoin. Really, it really comes down to that final sentence. Like you have to instill a belief in people, to be into people's hearts, into people's minds, that this is going to be as big as Bitcoin. It has that potential. Okay. And so this is the conversation that I'm having with Dtravel right now. How do we change everything to give the wider market that idea, that incentive to buy as much as possible and never sell? Yeah. And they're taking my conversations very seriously, very seriously. It goes back to tokenomics, but I don't think like it isn't just tokenomics. It's also everyone has to be on boards. You have to have the right kind of strap lines and marketing to go hand in hand with the product. The product has to be developed, and it has to be developed really quickly because we don't have much time. Yeah. So as you can see, our window is short. Yeah, we have a really tight window. And ultimately what could happen is that changes and relaunch will be announced first, and then there'll be a massive rush to develop those key features. Once those key features are in developed, then you're going to see a large amount of liquidity come into the market, because that's when people will buy more to stake or to accumulate or to buy and hodl or never sell. Yeah. And so that's the situation. Like in the first instance, I'm thinking to myself, imagine if Dtravel announced a change of tokenomics here, and that tokenomics was a future version of a Bitcoin type tokenomics, a store of value 2.0. Really, that's what's on my mind, a store of value. Yeah. Like this whole project becomes store of value. And it's supplemented by a real world use utility, an application which has a real world use, and effectively the value is coming into the DAO, and then the DAO administers the value, and over time the emissions drop, just like Bitcoin. Then you'd get an initial rush because people would buy the rumor, and that's when you'll get your first push, which would take us really to a nice place because it will give a lot of people an opportunity to make money. Then you'd get this correction, and however that correction plays out, we'd have to see. And then there'd be a mad rush by Dtravel to implement the key features of the application. Very important, because that's how you're going to bring in the liquidity. And once the application features are launched, that's the liquidity comes in, and that drives the price up to astronomical levels, to just breaks through to higher levels. Once that happens, then you're going to get mad FOMO, and then you'll get the final push. Yeah, because of FOMO. FOMO really does kick in at the end. of when everything is going parabolic. Yeah. So I've kind of mapped it out. I've mapped out how I envision the future and how we get there. It starts by giving people something that they want to buy as much of and never sell. It's keenly tied to a change of tokenomics, and it's also keenly tied to a change of strategy when it comes to selling Dtravel and marketing Dtravel, because ultimately people aren't going to believe that Dtravel is an Airbnb killer when Dtravel has only 5,000 listings. They're not going to believe that. So it doesn't matter how much you market Dtravel. Who believes that? No one believes that. When Airbnb has millions and we have 5,000, no one will believe we're an Airbnb killer. Okay. But if you give them something like the reminiscent beginnings of a Bitcoin crypto startup at the beginning, they might believe that, especially when you have this emerging real world network that starts to bring value to the token in a Bitcoin based token economy. Okay. When I say Bitcoin based, I mean Bitcoin not based, but Bitcoin tokenomics based, like the idea of the diminishing returns over a period of time. So that's kind of what's on my mind. It's obviously a little bit more developed than what I'm describing now, but really what we're having conversations now isn't about how to get to 3 cents or how to get to 5 cents or how to get to maybe 9 cents or at best 17 cents. The conversations we're having now is how to take Dtravel, TRVL, and smash through to all-time highs at $1.56 in the next 6 months. You know, I'm very serious about this. I'm not kidding. That's why I'm putting in a lot of time, and we're having serious conversations about this. Okay, so just bear that in mind. I'm going to keep this people who follow me updated on the Telegram and on these videos as to the progress of those conversations, but we don't have much time to act. We have to act fast, and so I'm very keen to put as much reserved pressure as possible, not pressure, but reserved pressure, because I don't want to pressure people. I want people to come to the same conclusion for themselves, and ultimately it would be the most amazing recovery from ever if we were able to pull this off, wouldn't it? It'd be the most amazing thing. If anyone accumulates here and we do pull this off, honestly, you'd never have to sell TRVL, because the staking program that we introduce would mean that you'd be with the TRVL that you stake, you'll be making money basically for the rest of your life. Basically, it would be like, it would, generally speaking, it would reward every single person who's invested in TRVL right now forever. And that's what we want. We want to reward every single person now. And that will also give us the fuel for the fire to build the Dtravel network, especially in, it would grow really fast. Because then Dtravel would have the capital, they'd raise enough capital in the explosive growth of the TRVL token to not only fund the bear market, but also invest and build the real world network. And that would intrinsically add value to the token and the rest of the network, the token economy. So there'd be a kind of a feedback loop which would grow the value of the token in the bear market. And we'd end up with a very bullish correction in the bear market, and then we would see another explosive growth to higher prices. We're having conversations about that now. I'll keep you guys updated. I'm not saying it's going to happen just yet, but this is what's on my mind, and I feel like I'm making some headway with the conversation I'm having. If we do manage to pull this off, we'll probably end up on Coinbase and Binance as well by the end of this run, probably, because it would be such an explosive growth, increase in volume and increase in liquidity. And the other thing is that it wouldn't just be store of value, it would be a chain agnostic store of value. TRVL would be on every single chain, especially Solana, but you could be on every single chain. And so if people perceive TRVL as a chain agnostic store of value, it means that whenever they wanted to store value, instead of transferring it to a wrapped BTC or even to BTC in a centralized exchange, selling and buying, they could just do it on their dexes, on their decentralized exchange, and they could just buy from Solana, they could just buy TRVL. If people start to perceive TRVL as a store of value type token, as where the value is secured and upheld by the physical real world network, just like Bitcoin was or is, and then that would allow it would create a different narrative. Actually, it would create a very different narrative for us, and instead of trying to shill the Night protocol, which most people won't understand, we don't have to do that. We'll just say we're just Bitcoin, but better for many reasons. We can explain that. We can explain the reasons why we're better, and why we're the same and better. I think in a market where everyone is looking at Bitcoin and going, damn, I wish I'd invested in Bitcoin 10 years ago, the easiest play would be to sell TRVL as Bitcoin, as a store of value. I think it'd be easier to do that than what we're doing now, than an Airbnb killer or a Shopify version, a new like a version of Shopify for property managed or property rentals. Yeah, I think it'll be a lot easier to do that. So I'm talking to them. We'll have to see what happens. And so just, if you believe in the universe and God and whatever, pray, send your prayers, light a candle, you know, ask for blessings or whatever you do, you know. I'm not saying, I don't know, you know, like send your good energy. Yeah. I honestly believe that everything happens for a reason. And often those reasons are initially to humble us, but also to make us appreciate what happens next. And so all of the struggle that we've faced and the experience of these last 4 years has brought us to this point, to the lows of the lows. And maybe that was needed for us to actually now finally make the changes that are necessary, because now we really are ready to take this to the place that it really ought to be in the future. All-time highs by December. That's on my mind. That literally is on my mind. Okay, not financial advice, but if these ideas are implemented, then I honestly think that anyone who's bought or buying TRVL now will never have to sell, ever. Will never have to sell TRVL, because you would have caught this right at the lows. If we manage, like, it's just hypothetical, yeah, like I like to play around, you know, like I like to hypothesize and imagine the future, don't I? But let's just say we do go to all-time highs. That would be a V-shaped recovery from here, but it would be a crazy V right to the all-time high. Not as high as $3, but all the way up to the all-time high. That would be the target. And then what you're looking at is a V-shaped recovery. And the 50 fib would be 9 cents, which would be correct, because then you'd have a bear market correction all the way down to 9 cents. That would be a perfect V-shaped recovery. The V is here. That's the V. That's the V. That's the pump all the way to all-time highs, and that's the V correction. Then what you're looking to do is flip 9 cents into a support zone in the bear market. And that would be very feasible if we were able to create this kind of pump all the way up to all-time highs. And that's really on my mind. Okay, so if it happens, you heard it here first. Okay. If you have any connection with rich people, then now is a good time to start getting them invested, because these are the conversations we're having. Right, that wraps up my TRVL stream. I've got half an hour.